For me, I'm wearing this hat here because I am El Capitan.
Capitan.
Aye,
You
aye,
understand
Captain.
what you come with me? I'm El Capitan up in here. Yeah.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't even. I can't even.
What you gonna do with him, baby?
I can't.
Hey,
I
listen.
can't.
In the words of the Hot Boys, the famous Hot Boys from back in the, 96,
When the block is
97.
hot.
90s, no. They said them words, but they said this too. Don't hate me, baby, because I'm beautiful. Yes. Yes.
That's what we doing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm just here for the ride, okay? That's what I'm good for. You watch your mouth.
Why I need to watch my mouth? This is the show, baby, where I get to let loose. I got some issues.
You got issues.
I got issues with this one. First, I'm gonna say, please, creator, let us not argue like we always do.
But I love you, Buddha. We have to.
Let us not. I'm gonna pray this one through. But once she said something in a conversation, I have to correct her. I have to correct her.
Correct me?
Yes, I have to correct you because I didn't say these things.
All right. Anyway.
You gonna cut me off? Or you gonna
I'm
gonna get this work. She got to get this work.
And let her be great, all right, y'all?
She got to get this work.
All the time.
She got to get this work. So this work is finna come to you right now. You gonna let me do it, baby?
No, we not
you,
gonna do
First of
that.
all, I thought I was El Capitan. I thought I was El Capitan.
Anyway, so listen, you all know what the deal is. Hello and welcome, Sippers, old and new. We appreciate you tuning in week after week, episode after episode. We've been on now at least 100 episodes, all right? So thank you all, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this, okay? We're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have series. We're going to have...
Hey, you over there.
It's going to be something for the people. You know what I'm saying? Because what is it? Real talk, real people, real life. I said it backwards, but you get my drift.
I like to say sharing is caring. Sharing is caring.
So that's how we roll. That's what we do, because this is what it is. All right?
Okay.
If you're coming in, tell us how you doing, how was your day, and what you sipping on. Me, I'm sipping on whiskey and some ginger ale.
Okay.
That's what I got.
That's a classic.
Well, what do you got, young lady?
I got a cup, a glass of Bailey's Irish cream. I thought it was very fitting for the weather. In Florida we only experience summer and spring, but
you know what they say, it coats the throat. It coats the throat quite well.
Okay.
Everybody coming in, make sure you say what's up.
What's up?
And let us know what you're sipping on.
What's up now?
How you doing, Don? What's good? Rashonda, Nikki, Sakandra. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey.
So,
well, first of all, you didn't get
I'm about to get to you. That's why I was like,
I'm sorry.
El Capitan.
Yes, lady.
What you sipping on, bro?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm sipping on the latest of SoCo with a hint of cream soda and a pinch of cinnamon. Who knew?
In his famous
mason jar.
Okay. That part.
Yes.
Ginger ale. Okay.
Okay.
Chambuca and Jamaican rum.
Okay.
Woo!
Somebody real grown over there.
I know beautiful Bobby. The beautiful Bobby.
That's Nikki.
That's beautiful. The beautiful Bobby over there.
With the Jamaican on.
He's going to benefit. He's going to reap the benefit of all this alcohol. Back in the day, we used to pour them down. Hey, girl, drink this.
You need another drink?
You need another drink? Because we want to mystify you with what we got.
You know what I'm saying? Heighten the moment, which leads us into our topic tonight. Mm-hmm. Since he was saying it, getting you nice and juicy, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying, and whatnot, makes things can make things quite pleasant. Mm-hmm. So tonight we's talking about sex in the city.
Sex in the city.
Oh, green tea. What's good, mama? How you doing, boo? I got my big girl drawers on tonight. Yes. That's how he does it.
Really?
Not do, does it.
I'm sure we run red lights.
Very good. So.
The captain is cutting up already.
Oh, this is it.
El Capitan, you're cutting up already.
That's right. Well, first things first. For your newcomers, please, Toya, let them know who you are and what you do.
Hey, y'all. It is Toya with Toys Toy Box, and we are a sexual intelligence firm where we provide sexual intelligence, sexual therapy, sex coaching, relationship coaching, and all of those things of the sort.
Oh.
So when you say sexual intelligence, what does one mean by that?
So just like we have emotional intelligence and relational intelligence, just being informed and aware and building your intellect, your IQ about sex, sexual orientation, the history of sex, the different origins of sex, just gaining information holistically about sex, just increasing your intellect, things that you may know and become aware of.
Okay.
All things sex.
It's funny you said that about the awareness, because Toya on last week Friday had a workshop called Teach You How to Squirt. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And although I was unfortunately unable to be on the whole time, she really was dropping some real nuggets about, is it pee? What's the percentage of pee? What was it, 3 to 7% that's actually urine? Mm-hmm. But the rest of it, it's the natural bodily fluids.
Yes.
And she talked about the pleasuring of yourself, to find your G-spot and using your fingers and the insertion and finding the ridges, and things like that. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we had a workshop virtual workshop on Friday titled Teach Me How to Squirt. And it was, and we talked about 3 main components of my philosophy of how one should learn how to squirt. And those 3 things are mind, body, and G-spot, which is what we like to refer to as your inner clitoris. And so just really quickly, the mind was just being able to get over the fact that you're not nasty or a whore or freak just because you want to learn how to squirt or you do know how to squirt. And also knowing that just because it is a messy event, that it's okay. And also knowing the facts behind the fluids that it is. So just not thinking it's pee. So that's the mind part of it. The body part is just being able to relax, being able to know where your pressure points are in your body and help maybe massage those and relax those things out. And just being familiar with your body in general. And then the G-spot, because some females can squirt based off from pressure from their G-spot or from their clitoris. And so we just know that the G spot is just the inner clitoris, or you have the actual clitoris that you can see that's under the hood, as we like to call it, that you can stimulate with consistent pressure or vibrations. So those were the 3 things that we talked about, and just being patient and knowing your body and learning or getting to know your body and just understanding the whole process of squirting.
Well, it was something you just said that I just don't see nothing wrong with.
What's that?
What?
Nasty, whore, freak. Those words turn me the hell on.
But you know that
I need all that. I need
but
all
those things
that.
have been used in a derogatory way toward women.
I'm gonna use it in a derogatory way, but at the same time, I want it all. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be all of them and great at it. Sorry. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Ooh.
And I'll sip to that one.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm glad you mentioned this this seminar that happened to slide in. Yeah, I was there. And then she said she had the nerve. They say, oh, this guy doesn't like booty hole play. Let me correct you, young lady.
I said it?
So let me correct you, young lady. I don't mind a woman putting her tongue down there. But what's not going to happen is L penetration. That is a difference.
So she can't penetrate with the tongue either?
Oh, well, I mean, how far she can go with that tongue? I mean, what you got there? Let me see. What kind of tongue you got there?
So, yes or no to the penetration with the tongue, Buddha?
Ooh, if she got a stronger tongue, we have to renegotiate everything.
Okay, the smallest tongue a woman you can imagine a woman having, yes or no?
Well, you know, I have to see it. Let me look at yours again. I can't see. Come on, baby.
What?
I can't see none of that. Either way, I digress. Now we're talking about Sex in the City. So when Sex in the City comes up, when that mind frame came, what the first thing came to your mind, sweetheart? When I'm talking to Miss Toya.
When I hear the terminology Sex in the City, I immediately think of fun, pleasurable sex, a little spontaneous. I also think about sex in the pandemic in which we are now, like sex after COVID, sex during COVID. Mm-hmm. And of course, because I'm always thinking in this capacity, I always think about sexual awareness and intelligence as well. So, but I always think of like Sex in the City, bright, colorful, playful.
Okay.
Sex.
So, being that you are a sex expert.
What's funny, baby? What is he about to say to me? What is he about to say to me?
I don't know.
Since you're a sex bird, sex expert, therapist, sex all these in sexism, right? Mm-hmm. I like to say that. Mm-hmm. How is sex in this pandemic thing? So you mentioned that. How is sex in the pandemic thing is coming along? Not for you personally, but you overall from what you've engaged.
Well, I can say that during the pandemic, and since folks have been social distancing and quarantining, the rate of STDs have the transmitted diseases have decreased. Oh, and one interesting fact that I have learned is that scientists have traced and discovered that the coronavirus does live in semen. Now, can it be transmitted via semen? We don't know that yet, but it has been found that there is traces of coronavirus in semen.
Well,
That's interesting because I saw that it wasn't in the bodily fluids per se. Well, it's inconclusive, but it was, however, identified it being in the feces.
Yes. Yeah.
All I'm
So
gonna
it
say
is in
is,
the feces, it is in semen. Now, whether or not it can be transmitted that way, I don't know that. And I have not read in my studies where it can be transmitted that way, but it is found in feces and in semen.
well, all I'm gonna say is you're gonna drink these kids. Bottoms up.
What?
I just wanted to get that out.
Why do you want to get that out?
Woo! Because it's in the semen.
That's not what you don't say that out loud. Let that, Jesus Christ. Ew.
Sorry, not sorry. Come on, sex therapist. Help me out here.
Anyway.
Oh Lord.
Wow.
We Sex in the City, baby.
Yeah,
all the way live.
What do you think of, Buddha, when you hear the terms, the phrase Sex in the City?
Well, I'm thinking about the person I used to be.
You want to, can I tell you what I think you think about?
Go ahead, tell me, please.
I think you think about like poly lifestyle.
No.
No? Okay.
No, not at all. Not
I'm really interested
not in that aspect. No, I'm talking about, I'm thinking about the person that I used to be and how I used to go out there and play the field. There you go. That's it. You know,
the Rolling Stone.
Dick on demand. That's what I am. I am, what I used to say that, baby?
A poor woman dream and a rich woman fantasy.
Yeah,
rich woman fantasy and a poor woman.
There you go. Don't get mad at me because I'm in demand.
You dicking women down.
Anyway, let me lighten this thing up a little bit. She Wilkers now. When I think of it, I think of, liberation, women liberation, just having, being single, ready to mingle, just kind of out there on a quest to just find Mr. Right and, just living your best life. You know what I mean? You and your crew, your sisterhood, your girlfriends, y'all like, what we doing this weekend? Or, going on trips and just, doing things like that. And just enjoying the moment while simultaneously searching for Mr. Right.
Interesting. I like the way you, baby.
You polar opposite of Buddha, but I love it.
I mean, I did say living your best life, so you can
what does that consist of? What does living your best life consist of?
That's what I'm saying. Insert accordingly.
Hold on. Don't ask, don't tell.
Okay.
Right. I know I said Mr. Right. I know that it ain't no such thing, but the illusion of Mr. Right, I want to have me a
There's no such thing.
I went totally blank on.
There's no such thing as
what's my favorite guy name in the book, Bombard?
Well, hold on. While we wait,
the chef. Why did I go blank? Say his name. You know who I'm talking about.
Well, hold on. Back to this thing called Mr. Right.
What?
All right. There's no such thing as a Mr. Right.
I mean, it's an illusion. They're not going to be always right. So
his name is Oliver.
Yes. I'm on my quest to find me an Oliver.
Hold on, but is there? I'm gonna ask you this because there's always yin and yang to everything we do in life. Right? Is there a Mr. Wrong?
It's a bunch of them.
Absolutely.
The polar opposites. There is a to each individual there is a Mr. Right or Mrs. Right.
Exactly.
Will they hit the marker in all aspects? Absolutely not. Can they give you the illusion of doing things right? Yeah, because at the end of the day, what is important to you? what your value system is, what the intricate details of your individualized values, you know, it's what you're going to base your Mr. Right on. If sex is one of your tools, you know, benchmarks, you're obviously seeking to align yourself with someone that can fulfill you sexually. And Buddha had a interesting conversation today. Tell the people the short version of what you talked about today.
Well, I'm gonna get there. I'll get there.
Okay.
But I'm gonna ask Toya. Go ahead. What's the value? We was talking, because you said it so elegant. You were talking about we were talking about sex, right?
Right.
And we were talking about the value of sex, placing the value on sex, right? And how it, you know, how do you feel about it? Is it important to you to have sex, or is it not important for you to have sex? And then on that thing, how important it is in a relationship. So it's a two-part question.
So let me say it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like I tried to tell her, she threw me out there on the.
Well, because I wanted you to talk about what your story, the scenario which then can bounce back.
I'll get the story, but I want to hear what she's saying.
Let
me be.
Had you done what I said.
Let me be El Capitan.
Because I said what I said. It would have made more sense. Now I got to clean it up. Ladies and gentlemen, sippers and sippets, let me clean this up just a little bit. Now, what he's asking, which is a two-part, is how do you view sex in general, and how do you view sex with regards to your relationship? And what I mean by where do you place the priority, the value of it in general versus in a relationship? Because they're not always equal.
Go. And if you got answers, please let them know in the comments. But go ahead, expert.
How I view sex is sex wears a variety of hats for me. Okay. I view sex as an art. I also view it as an exchange of energy. I view it as a method to connect physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's a vehicle to express yourself as well, which is why I say I kind of look at it as an art. For me, because it's something that I view as a tool to kind of connect all my life roadmaps together. So it's not, you know, like I don't just categorize it. My life, things intertwine or connect. And sex is one of those things that connect things for me, you know, such as your energy and your physical and emotional and spiritual awareness and being in self. And so it is a priority, you know, for me in a relationship. Because it fits also into my love language, how I like to give love, show love, and also how I like to receive it. So how I view it and what I think of it, and then how it is in a relationship for me is, I don't know if they're 100% equal, but right now where I am in this stage in my life, it's something that has a pretty significant priority.
Okay.
So some of the sippers said, with regards to the Mr. Right comment, tolerance, acceptability, humility, and it's about timing and humility. His ass will be Mr. Wrong at some point, Mr. Right a lot, and Mr. Perfect in spurts. And then, so the next one is sex is uber important. Okay. Sex is uber important.
Uber.
Okay. Important in a relationship. Sex has never soured in my 24-year relationship, but several other things went way left. So it doesn't save or preserve a relationship.
In that person's opinion. That's great.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, again, that's why I said in the beginning, everybody's individualized perspective is going to be, it's going to be different. And so there's some commonality, because you spoke about connection and the energy, the intimacy holistically.
I like the art. I like the art.
Right, because and I think the deeper
squirting is the art.
The deeper you get into your sexual encounter and activities and such, you as an individual start seeing it as an art, because you find pleasure and joy in pleasing the mate. And so when you put that energy into it and you start looking at it as an art is beautiful. So if there's the swapping of bodily fluids and things along those lines, it doesn't become like nasty. Like you don't look at yourself at the end of the ordeal and say, I was such a whore, like, because it was, that was
dirty.
Yeah, like, I'm so dirty, I'm saying. You're not looking at it in a negative view. You're looking at it, it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you're not violated, of course, you know what I mean? But, so, yeah, what'd you say?
Yeah, I mean, so like today I had a little mini research idea. I asked a couple people, 3 people in exact, that same very question all at the same time. And it was a guy, it was a Latino woman, and it was a white woman. Obviously, I was just trying to get it from all different angles. So the guy was like, I need it. It's important to me. I need it. It makes me feel good. That's what I need. When I had a hard day of work, I want to be able to come home to my mate and feel great, even if it's for a moment, I said, cool, I could dig that. The Latino lady, she was like, more on the lines of what you're saying, is the connection. It shows how much, the art of being intertwined with one another. I was like, yeah, I could dig that too. Then the other lady was like, it's not important at all. It's like, sex is not that important. So being the guy that I am, I always like to play devil's advocate. Since she said it wasn't important. I said, so it's not important? Right? She's like, yeah, it's not important. Right? Sex ain't important. I said, so if I was your man and you feeling it's demonstrating and telling me that it's not important to you, then you wouldn't mind if I have sex with somebody else. Since it ain't important to you, so sex ain't important. So if I had sex with somebody else, that wouldn't be important either. And then she's like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then I said, well, I guess it's more important than you thought. I mean, because you're looking at it in the turn of you pleasing your mate and your mate pleasing you, but when it becomes not you, he or she takes themselves out of the picture because you're not making it important, and they're doing everything else to make you happy because that's why you're there. And they just say, maybe, and then they go ahead and have sex with somebody else, but they're doing everything else that you said was important to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now you want to get mad because he's sexing somebody else, which is not important. She went the same,
a lot of people, when you ask them where in your list of priorities, where sex, a lot of people tend to evaluate sex as a solo act, when really I believe it should be evaluated, because a lot of times, I know for me, I believe sex was intended for a partner contribution, a partner act. And so when you evaluate sex, a lot of people say, oh, it's not important for me, but it's not just you and the act of having sex. It's important for a lot of men. And so if it's important to, if Buddha and I are in a relationship, if it's important to Buddha, it needs to be important to me. And then two, people say, oh, sex isn't important until then they start to want to have a baby. And of course, that's the most natural vehicle to procreation. So now all of a sudden sex becomes important because you want to have children, your namesake and all that great stuff. And so I think when we're a lot of times we're narrow-minded when we answer that question or when we evaluate sex. We don't think about it holistically and how it's you're not just evaluating it as a solo act, but what about your partner? What about how it's used to, create your lineage?
And that was one of the things I mentioned to Buddha, one of the things I said was, that's why I said sex being general, the view in general versus when you're in a relationship, because some people, when they're not in a relationship, it's really, it's not like a high priority, because I can have sex, sex. You can have sex. You can have sex. Everything is so sexually overrated, truthfully.
Oh,
to you. But, if a person started having sex at a young age, or they may have been married and they got divorced, all these different variables that can come into play that sways an individual's decision or their upbringing as a whole may be that, they didn't begin having sex until well into their late, early 20s or something like that. And so they're only like 5 or 6 years away from when they actually really started engaging in sexual activities. So now you're talking about a 5-year window. Sex isn't really, it's cool, but they were saving themselves for their husband or whatever the circumstances. And so, but when you go 25 years, 20 years, obviously 20, but I'm saying, you go from adolescent to adulthood and you don't have sex, you don't really know what you're missing. So it's not like your body, and women view sex totally different. Well, I won't say totally. A lot of women view sex differently than the average man. I'm telling you.
I get what you're saying.
I'm saying the average woman versus the average man, the perspectives are going to be generally different. Case in point, if most men, if they're having a rough day at work or a rough day, they use sex as a form of relief.
Okay, I can dig that.
Whereas a woman, the last thing she's thinking about doing is busting it wide open. I know that's not all women. I'm just saying. I'm not talking about all the women, okay, you peoples out there. I'm just saying that's not most women. That's generally not a first thought.
Well,
I'll say the average woman.
I'm not even gonna say the average, because I feel like if they're not in a relationship, it's clear that maybe you may be right and maybe not, but they may have friends with benefits, a guy or a girl, depending on who you are, that this is the main standard while they're single. So when they have a rough day, they're gonna toot it and boot it.
Maybe not.
Now, I wanted to bring this thing back because I like where you were going with this, but I'm gonna bring it from a different perspective from you.
Go ahead.
So sex is important to me, obviously it is, but at one point in my life, I can only speak for me. In my life, I was shooting bad. Like, I was homeless, didn't have no car, I had none of that thing. But all I had was dick.
Penis.
However you want to look at it. And I used that penis to get a house, money, and car. All I had to do was touch that right spot and cook. So sex could be a way of life. You got ladies out there on OET. That's the way of life. They gotta figure out how to get that. They gotta figure out how to get that Happy Meal.
Right. Absolutely. If the tool that you have is between your legs,
you better use all of it.
And it determines your livelihood, then
absolutely,
one must do what they feel is deemed necessary.
Women been doing this all the time.
I'm not saying it. I'm far from judging anybody.
They use
Go
sex.
be great.
They use sex to get ahead. They use some people, not all, use sex to get that nice promotion.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm just saying in general, the view on it. But I know that, but what I was saying also is that in a circumstance where you have a lower value on for sex versus your mate,
okay.
Number one, this should have been a conversation during your dating.
Why?
But because if you're talking, I said dating.
Why?
Because in order for us to move forward, and I'm telling you that I have this issue or I don't really look at sex a certain way, I want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and leave me alone, so that I can align with somebody or I can go ahead and leave. That's you. Don't stop.
I'm not gonna stop it, but I'm telling you out. Okay, I'll do this.
I'm just saying.
Keep talking.
Whatever, stop. I'm just saying, that way, because there's no point in wasting time if you are adamant about that's what you believe in, because all what's going to happen is later on, it's going to be represented because I'm not engaging in frequent sexual activities with you. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say, but I told you this and you stayed with me. Mm-hmm. So this is the time when we have open dialogue about this. So we, and then express to me how you feel. So I can, like I said, I have a rebuttal to, counter rebuttal to your rebuttal. You know what I mean? At least we can go back and forth. And then if we can, let's try this out.
Okay.
And move forward, or, try it out. It don't work, bring it back to the table. And then, because eventually something gonna have to give instead of you deciding to go and have sex with somebody else because I'm not engaging. Yes, I'm part of the problem, but at the same time, we should be having a discussion about this in the beginning stages.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Whether you're dating or in a relationship, it still needs to be happening early set. If this is how you feel.
So let's talk sexpert. What do you got?
I agree with Baby.
What?
I do.
Okay.
I agree with Baby. I do believe that this is a conversation that should be had. Communication is a key element, and it's very essential in any relationship, whether it's a friendship, romantic ship, a family ship, a partnership, business ship, whatever. You have to communicate, and the earlier you find out things about how compatible you are, the better. And so if you guys are not channeling on the same frequency sexually, that could be a big problem for a lot of couples, a lot of individuals. And so if you discuss that and talk about that early on, it's never too soon to talk about sex when you're dating someone. The sooner the better. That way
you want to have sex, so why can't we talk about it?
I'm shocked.
Absolutely.
I am so
Why
shocked.
are you shocked?
I'm shocked at you, and I'm shocked at you. Because
what you do, baby?
We gonna keep it 100 here, right? The effing 100. There's only a couple things in the beginning that you're gonna talk about when it's dealing with sex, correct? You're going to talk about if it feels good to you, what you're doing for that person, if it's what you like or not, or don't like. So if he ain't hitting the mark, you're going to tell him he ain't hitting the mark. If he, let me finish.
But you ain't even had the sex.
First of all, let me out. You or you. You know what I'm saying? So now that's number one. These are the talks you're going to have. What you're not going to talk about is how much sex you're going to have. Because
why wouldn't you? It's a simple question.
Hold on. Let me get there. Lean this way. That's what man said. Lean this way, right? Let me get there, right? So when you start this dating phase and in the beginning part of y'all sexual activity, y'all fucking like rabbits.
Not necessarily.
Well, what baby is saying that this conversation is
you talking about you fucking like rabbits, but if the individual does not have a high value or priority on sex, you are not fucking like rabbits.
Listen, at the end of the day, listen, I heard everything y'all said and y'all just cut me right on off.
But you talking about, you're right, but the conversation is the person that has low place value on sex. You're not having that conversation.
You're not having that conversation because in the beginning stages of y'all sexual activity, you and he, both woman and female, is trying to seal the damn deal. So
if you do not
can I finish my point? Can I finish my point?
I'm going. You do your point, but I'm still gonna. I'm still not gonna let you do that because
I got to.
Number one,
I didn't do that.
I ain't gonna say I'm not gonna let you do that. But my point I'm saying is to what you're talking about. You're presuming that the person that has low value on sex is having sex. You have to. So it would. Okay. So we're gonna take this person. So we're not gonna talk about the person that has low value. So we're just talking about in general, right?
No.
We're not talking about the person that has low sex value. I'm asking you.
Well, we're talking about both of them. But here's the thing. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna let me get my point across, and then you can go ahead and lay me out however you want. Because this is a conversation and we're separate. Okay? What I'm saying to you in the beginning, regardless of if you have a high sex drive or not, you are trying to seal the deal. Once it becomes a comfortable situation between you and the other person, then you may tail off. So that may not be a conversation that you have in the beginning, because you want to let them know I'm about this situation. Thank you. I like the way she did that. She raised her hand. I'm about this situation. I'm digging you at this moment, and I'm going to talk from my own experience. I can't speak for everybody else, right?
Say that.
Well,
lead with that.
Most women that
that way.
Most women that I dealt with that did not have a high sex drive, they gave it to me often in the beginning, and then they phased out. And I was like, what the? You know what I'm saying? What happened? Is it me? Boy, is you not doing the job? And that was it. Go ahead, sweetheart. Go ahead.
Okay, so in defense.
I can't hear her.
Can you hear me?
Nah.
Your volume low.
Your volume low.
Hold on.
There you go. Hold on. Oh snap. We all the way up. I don't know what happened. But go ahead. Can y'all hear her?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you barely, but can y'all hear her? You all the way up.
Can you hear me now?
Can y'all hear her? Give me a thumbs up or not. Okay. But go ahead. I can barely hear you, but I got you.
Unmute yourself and try it again.
All right. What about now?
Yeah, you're low.
That's what they said. You're low.
Something happened.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Okay. So, in defense of my baby, your statement was irrelevant. What we were referencing was before intimacy ever happens. We were talking about having that conversation before the two individuals are trying to seal the deal. So what we were referencing was about having conversation prior to the actual act of sex even happening.
And you're not having that conversation then either.
And why you're not having that conversation?
No, I'm having all kinds of conversations because I want to know what your sex is like. I'm not saying.
Well, why aren't you having?
So that's part of the conversation. If you're saying,
but you're not saying,
well, and I'm going to be saying to you, so well, I mean, I don't mind. It's all good, but it ain't, it just.
Because I asked, how important is sex to you? What does sex look like in a relationship with you? I want to know.
You're going to ask that question?
Absolutely.
You're going to ask that question?
Absolutely.
You didn't ask me that question.
I didn't ask you that question.
Oh.
Or you may say, how often are you used to having sex, or how often do you like to have sex?
I mean, they all going to say whatever they're going to say. Sometimes they're going to tell you what you want to hear.
It's not necessarily what I want to hear. It's about being true to yourself.
I'm keeping it 100 because at the end of the day, we all know how some women are raised. They're not going to
people. Don't be putting this on women.
Well, I'm only going to speak for what I understand because I heard the same sentiments in most women that I dealt with, that their mom always said if the mom was in their life.
And what did they say?
They said, hey, don't give them everything. Just give them enough to keep coming in. And once you got them, then wham, let them have it.
Never had that. My mother, we never engaged in that.
They all fake. They always.
Shit might be whack, and that's the end of all the conversation.
My point exactly.
Yeah,
I'm all about having sex up front and getting past that part. If the sex is good, we can talk about everything else. But
the case in point is an individual, whether it's a man or a woman, the individual has a low sex drive or a low desire with regards to sex.
My point again.
And again, you do in the banter you have, however it comes about, you bring that up. Now, what most times probably will happen is that person, the opposite person, is not going to be listening to what you actually said. They're going to be assuming they can change your mind. Because all they got to do is let you get it one time and they gonna change your mind. When the reality is, I said what I said. So you can put in the work and it's great. It's good. It's not that I don't like it or don't want to do it. Not me, but it's not that. It's just that I could go a month. You know what I'm saying? I'm speaking as the person with the low sex drive, because some people, they get sexually satisfied by playing lotto, scratch off, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like other things, like going to the gym or going skydiving, like doing extreme things. They get the same sexual feeling by doing other things, and having penetration is not, it's good, it's great when you do it, but it's not ranked at a high level of other things that bring more joy to that person.
Okay, so what do people say then?
So people say having sex with the right person can make your sex drive higher. Maybe a person's sex drive may drop if they aren't the right person. Not exactly, but I understand your point. Great sex will keep you stuck on stupid. It can. It has been proven. Yeah, I don't think I was ever asked that question. You probably weren't, but it's a different day and age, and so these are questions that should be part of, and it's better than when we fucking. You want to come Netflix and chill, you know, or you know what I mean?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it? Like, hey, and flashes, and you know what I mean? Like these are conversations. If you're actually engaging in full-blown conversations, you know, it probably will be seeming kind of weird, but again, it's going to weed out the persons that are not compatible with your desires. And so it's okay. I mean, they may be a good person, a great person, the whole kit and caboodle, but it's just not a compatibility for you. So if you have a high sex drive, then you don't want to waste your time trying to convince or persuade that person that has a low sex drive that just give me one chance, I'll change your life.
Well, I don't know if it's just like give it one chance, but you don't necessarily truly definitively understand where they're coming from until you're in the situation.
Right.
Case in point, I'm gonna give you a case in point because I'm gonna talk about me. So when me and Baby got together, we was having these conversations and communicating. I told her that I'm an asshole. And she was like, oh, okay.
No, that ain't what it said.
What you say, baby?
Okay.
Okay. But she didn't know to the level of
right, I don't know what level of asshole. I figured it out even within a few days.
You don't know. Same thing with sex, though, right? You can say, I have a high sex drive, and you ask them, well, how many times you like to have sex? Whatever. And they could say 7 days a week, or they could say 4 days a week. However, you get into that situation where the everyday life is in there, right? And then you realize it went from 4 days to 1 day.
Right.
But I thought you had a high sex drive because it's what it was what you anticipated, in the talking phase, right?
Well, you definitely got to sell yourself. I mean, you got the 30-second. I'm saying sell yourself.
Sounded like what I was saying.
The things that you say. You have that 30-second elevator speech, and so all these things you start saying, at some point you're gonna have to cut the mustard.
You're gonna have to cash that check.
Right.
So just because a person tapers off doesn't mean that their libido or their sex drives decrease.
Okay.
They could have lost interest, but that doesn't mean that their sex drive decreased just because they lose interest in having sex with you. Or other things in life may happen where other things may become priority, but that doesn't mean that their sex drive has decreased.
When we're speaking, I'm with you, but we're speaking from the person who is lacking. But we're not speaking from the person who's receiving the lacking, right? How do they feel about the situation? So yeah, your priorities may change, or whatever you said, it could be, but that ain't telling me that I'm not, hey, listen, if I'm feeling neglected, what is my thought process going to be? Is it going to be, I'm not good enough?
That's when you have the conversation.
My point you're absolutely right. I'm not disagreeing with having a conversation. My only point was you're not having the intricate, detailed conversation about what it is on your sex drive versus what it is with my sex drive in the beginning, dating, courting phase. Your thing as a man, most time, often than not, you're trying to get to the dance. Okay.
That's because you guys consistently make that a priority.
Well, I mean, but no, regardless, listen, please let me say this. When you are talking to a woman and she finally gets your attention, regardless of how she got your attention, most men are going to think, like women do, what is it going to be like in the sack? Let's tell the truth.
It's not that it's not a thought. Okay. It's not, okay. You know, a lot of that, so, especially if you hype it up. If you do your 30-second elevated speech and you selling it, like I say, of course, curiosity always is a trigger. So, but
all I'm saying is
it doesn't make it. It doesn't mean that your sex drive or your views on it.
Okay. I'm not
is gonna, you know,
I'm not saying
it can be swayed because what I said earlier was what happens at a point in time, you know, 6 months ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever ago, versus in the now or later could change. So if you do decide y'all gonna tough it out because you got a more greater
success rate,
not even just that, but just more things that are more to hold on to, you know, the other stuff, the cooking, the cleaning, all the, you know, the feeling love and all that, you know, all the other things.
Investments, you know, whatever.
All the good stuff is more positive than negative than the one negative thing or whatever, you know, which is the sex part. And then here it is, you know, y'all toughed it out. Go y'all. And now, okay, you find out of the blue, you're starting to have more sex. But again, one thing that I mentioned, and then I want to ask a question after this, another question. Women, we go through a lot. Period. Just whether we have kids or not, holding the house down, trying to balance having a man or being single, balance being single with kids and no man, work, all those different things. And so when you combine it all, our bodies are stressed even though we are not feeling stressed, but the body is stressed. And so, but we have to get in tune with our bodies so that we can know that I'm triggered, you know, or I know I'm okay, but I also know that I haven't been intimate or, you know, having intercourse and things like that. And so we got to be able to do the tough thing and go to the doctor. Well, go get a checkup.
I got another question. So I'm gonna let you ask your question, then I'm gonna ask my question.
Mm-hmm. What my question I wanted to ask is, and Toya, you can elaborate once Buddha say his thing, because it was part of what you asked about how are the views of sex while we're in this pandemic. So, you know, versus, you know, pre-pandemic.
Fuckery.
So I'm glad you brought that back up, because that was another thing that I wanted to touch on about sex in this pandemic. And so I talked about how the STD rates have decreased. I talked about how scientists have found traces of coronavirus in semen. But what I didn't mention was that couples, women, both men alike, are starting to realize it, because there is, with being social distancing and quarantining, of course, families and couples are spending more time together. And with that, I just know from my own personal conversations with clients and friends and family, folks are realizing how important sex really is to them in their relationship, in their partnership and marriages, because they have been able to spend that time at home with each other all day, weekends, and really have that time to connect with each other. And their way of connecting a lot of times was via sex. And so couples are really realizing, once the hard grind stops and everything slows down, and they're able to really evaluate and look and breathe and intentionally put forth an effort towards connecting and spending time and bonding, the vehicle that they used to do that has been sex. And they're realizing, oh my goodness, sex is really important. we're having a lot of sex around here.
Yeah, makes sense. But I can only imagine singles, if anybody that's on or that come on and catch this on the replay and you're watching this, how, as a single person, how have you been impacted with your sex life as a result of this pandemic?
That's great. Well, I ain't single, so I don't have that problem.
What was your question, Buddha?
Well, my question was, and I'm hearing the mature woman of today. So back to what we were talking about having that conversation, right? Mm-hmm. At what point in your ladies' lives, especially you two right here, when you came up with the idea that you need to have that conversation? Because conversation about what we're talking about as far as how often that pH balance, all that great stuff. When you're in your 20s, you may or may not be on that level. You know what I'm saying? When you're a teenager, 20s, at some point you reach a level of sexual maturity. You like how I did that. And you realize that this is the things that I need to do, because she always like to talk about sexual maturity. So, like, where did you get, at what age or when did you get to that point? Because, like, when I'm talking to you, like, and I'm saying these things, and you're like, no, not necessarily, that's because you're talking from a level of where you are today, right? Can I say that? Versus where you were 20 years ago.
Okay, so
generally, I'm always looking from beginning to end. I entered adulthood at a very young age. I was 16 with a child, so obviously I had sex.
You couldn't have it no more.
I mean, there was.
I'm doing this thing.
So for me, even then versus now, I was always really conscious of certain things, which was weird that I got pregnant. But nevertheless, when I look at my views then versus now, they're not too far apart. The difference, I would say, in my then versus my now is just being more seasoned and more deliberate about what I say and what I do.
So what you're saying to me, I'm asking because, to follow this follow-up question to what you just said, not saying what you're going to say, but so what I'm saying to you is you're asking those same questions that you put out there, right? In this broadcast, you were asking those same questions.
I mean, I wouldn't say same.
Well, I mean, hey, you were like, hey, listen,
who you been with, or how many women you been with? How
many women you been with?
But again, I was a lot more mature for my age. In a lot of ways, but I still have growing to do and learning to do, because I mean, I was a teenager. So, but I was asking I was asking questions.
Okay.
So for me, am I echoing to you guys?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. So for me, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I didn't always ask those questions because I didn't care. I wasn't looking for anything long term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if I did ask those questions to a guy, how often you like to have sex, or how many girls you've been with, or, what's your sexual life? It's because I was trying to figure out, learn the game. I was just trying to learn what, if he was just trying to get with me to sleep with me, or what his angle was. And so I ask those questions sometimes if I
was trying to learn the game. But then once I learned the game, I didn't ask when I was younger because I didn't care, because I wasn't looking for anything long term. But then as I got older and I had my daughter when I was 24, I, of course, started wanting something more long term. I was looking, I wanted to be married, and I wanted something different than I did when I was younger. And so, yes, I wanted to know, because I wanted to make sure that we were compatible in certain areas of our lives. And even if you don't, I'm okay with the guy not having a high sex drive, as long as you're okay with, when I need it, like you're willing to please me, whether it be, with a toy or whatever. Like, you don't have to always penetrate me, but entertain me in one form or fashion.
Be a part of it.
Right.
Be a part of the experience.
Just be there. Yeah.
I mean, I like you say, there's periods of times where, or purposes, whatever is the ultimate purpose, is probably what will be the trigger for said questions, line of questions.
Yeah.
If you ultimately, if all you just want is that moment, then yeah, quite naturally, you're not going to ask the question. But
right.
But if you're going to be, engaging or potentially engaging with this individual for a significant period of time, they're going to be your constant. It's a very strong likelihood that in this day and age, you should be asking those questions. Whether you did it before, you need to start doing it now.
Right.
Yeah. It's the part about growing your sexual intellect, become more sexually intelligent.
So I'll go back. I'm glad we came full circle, and I can agree and disagree and agree, because at the end of the day, I feel like you have to be at a certain maturity level to understand the certain questions that you need to ask, right? So you're asking you who are on this level, right? Which is, I think, is a little above the normal person, because they may not ask those questions until somebody brings it to the table, and they understand, or life experiences teaches you that you need to ask these questions.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask those questions. It shows maturity. It shows that you are sexually mature. You're trying to increase your sexual intellect. It shows that, in my opinion, that you're looking for something. It's a sign for something, that you're looking for something long term, and not just for the moment or the season.
Or you're looking for something with substance. Even if it's short term, you want it to have substance to you, But again, everybody's individual perspectives is obviously going to be varied. And, Buddha's experience, your experience, our viewers' experience, mine, they're all going to, they're going to vary, and based on the experience, as far as your upbringings, your exposure, products of the environment, all of those things is going to come into play. So that's, it's going to make it obviously go up and down, or, whatever, if your goal, if the goal for you is to be married, you're going to be moving in that direction. If it's just to kind of hang out and date, you go, you just move, you govern yourself accordingly. Yeah. So this was awesome.
Yeah, we disagree. Actually, it was a heated exchange between me and Baby, believe it or not. More than it was a heated exchange between me and Toya, which is different because it's usually me and her going at it.
Just a little love legs, Buddha.
Listen, I'm El Capitan, and I can take both of you guys on.
Anyway, so listen, we talked about Sex in the City.
Yeah.
If you have whatever your sexual desires are or aren't, if you are choosing to be dating or in a relationship, dating and transitioning into a relationship, it will behoove you to communicate with your partner if you know about yourself and your views on sex. Mm-hmm. Now, if your views on sex is get it how you live, then be great. Be safe. Mm-hmm. Always, you know what I'm saying? Use safe sex, use protection. If you are struggling with having sex with COVID during this pandemic we're going through, you may want to contact Latoyia Toys Box, and she can refer you to some good toys, or just get you some have a consultation, and she can have you talk about with her how to please your damn self. In the meantime,
well, call me. Absolutely. I got some homeboys that
you don't share our boyfriend.
Not me.
We're
I got some homeboys. They come with a COVID certification. I'm clean.
If you have whatever your requirements are, the same way you want to see HIV tests, mm-hmm. Things like that. Maybe you can,
provide a
COVID test. I don't know. Maybe this is actually definitely something to be looking into during this pandemic, because first of all, it's not going away entirely. This is the new normalcy. Yeah. However, how do you acclimate? Because you definitely don't want to just cut your sex life off, but how do you move accordingly, especially for those that are single?
Yeah, for those are single, man.
Those that are single better open up that little black book and go back to some people that they already know.
But even the people you know, you don't know what they doing when you ain't around them. So the safest method is make sure you get the COVID test, and that COVID test needs to be at least 2 to 3 days, with the 2 to 3 days, possibly 4. Okay, but you need new test results. Okay, because things happen. Now, granted, if you speak to this individual on a regular basis and you pretty much kind of know their lifestyle and things like that, do you, boo? Make a decision. I mean, sometimes you need to knock the dust off, and then you go get your own COVID test. All right? You don't necessarily have to wait for the person. You need to get your own, you know what I'm saying? Go do you.
And listen.
Be great.
I was at a bar. Now, all jokes aside, the small story. Like, before we get out of here, I know. And so I was at a barbecue, and before we got in, we had a COVID test at the door. So once the COVID test came up negative, the young lady was like, "Well, since I know you're negative, you want to have sex?" I laughed about it, because obviously I'm in a whole relationship, you know what I'm saying? But I thought it was a funny exchange, you know what I'm saying?
Everybody know what that ain't negative. If you couldn't, because you couldn't get if you're not negative.
Oh man, so that was a funny story. But Toya, final thoughts.
Well, since the month of September is set aside to acknowledge sexual health awareness, this is a great time, as Baby mentioned. Go get tested, STD, HIV, get your pap smears, get your colon tested, get everything tested, and in the midst of doing all of that, might as well go ahead and get your COVID test done. Just be safe, be selective about who you're sharing your sexual experiences with, and know the person's lifestyle. If you're just gonna go do it without having that test already done, like Baby said, be aware of the person's lifestyle. You guys have that conversation, that open and honest conversation, because you're going to be intimate anyway. You might as well tell the truth so that a person knows what they're getting themselves into. And then one thing I had a consultation was about was that a young lady, everybody there wearing masks. And we know that sometimes people have herpes, and the form of herpes sometimes presents itself in a form of a cold sore. And you are able to mask that by wearing masks. And so when cold sores are active, or your herpes are active, people are able to engage and not really know because you're wearing a mask and you can't see. So it is okay to ask the person to unveil themselves for a second, just so you want to see their mask and put it back on if you're doing a hookup. But it's just really important for us to be honest, transparent, and just be safe, because you're only responsible for yourself.
So you mean tell me they wear masks during the sexual act?
Yeah, some people do. Absolutely. Yeah. I saw a couple that got married with masks on. Yes.
Hey, I'm not above all that, but I'm just surprised. Like if I'm sticking my
witnessed
I'm sticking my pecker in you.
Getting
I'm sticking
married.
my pecker in you. It's too late. You know what I'm saying? At that moment, it's
but you have to realize people are still doing hookups, even in the pandemic. They still, especially those people that are on the dating apps. Dating apps didn't cease just because of COVID. And a lot of times those dating apps are used for hookups. I mean, just being real.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Right. And so you are meeting someone out, and of course you're masking yourself to protect yourself from, to protect others. Most people are hooking up with the mask on. Absolutely.
I can dig it. I'm just surprised.
And under that mask, sometimes be a lot of stuff going on that they're just not aware of. So that's
I can understand. Like you wake up, that morning sex, and nigga, smell your own breath. You can't put the mask on. I got it. All right, man, I'm good. I did everything. See, listen, for a couple seasons now, I had to timber down all this stuff that I needed to timber down, right? Today, I was able to let loose a little bit. And that I did.
He tried.
Woo!
Okay, very good.
Right.
So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We will be sure to have Toya's information for those. She's our resident sex expert on sexual intelligence. And
I got a couple questions.
Yes, whenever she has another workshop, we will definitely push that out to our SIFAs so they can share that with themselves or to whom it may concern.
We have a lot of nice gifts and giveaways too, baby.
I couldn't get in on the goddamn giveaway.
So what's the next one? You have a next one coming up?
Yeah, it's in October. I think it's I'll shoot you guys the flyer is right now being made, the flyer, and so it's the third Friday, third or fourth Friday in October. I think it's the Friday before Halloween.
Is it the same class?
Like no, it's a different.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. So Buddha, next week, same time, same energy, SIFAs. We love y'all. Thank you, Toya.
Love you. We say